Australia is in recession, and it's the most severe one on record. When people followed orders to stay at home in April, May and June, they also went on a spending strike. The economy shrank by 7%, a dramatic decline much worse than the dip at the start of the year. Households couldn't spend, so they didn't, and the pandemic's pain was felt far and wide through air and travel and transport, accommodation and hospitality, and the arts and recreation. The recession was inevitable from the time the country went into lockdown, but that didn't soften the blow when almost 3 decades of growth came to an end. Political editor Andrew Probyn explains.
Mr Speaker, this is a devastating day for Australia.
The gravity of this economic moment in history not lost on anybody in Parliament, especially a Treasurer whose surplus dream was dashed by the COVID catastrophe.
Today, we are reporting these devastating numbers, but today Australians are living them.
The modern-day hungry mile, shuttered shops, streets built for thousands barely populated, airports ghostly quiet. The magnitude of the downturn shocking. Australia's record 28 years of consecutive economic growth falling off a cliff. A 7% collapse in economic activity in the 3 months to June, confirming the first recession since 1991.
People are scared to spend because they're worried that they'll fall through the cracks.
He's coming home.
Even the recession that followed the end of the Second World War wasn't so severe. You've got to go right back to the Great Depression to see worse.
Isn't this the worst time for the Prime Minister to be cutting JobKeeper, cutting JobSeeker?
We know that as a government that we have acted to seek to cushion that blow as much as we possibly can.
Too much cushioning, according to one former Prime Minister.
In this climate of fear, it was hard for governments to ask how much is a life worth, because every life is precious and every death is sad. But that's never stopped families sometimes electing to make elderly relatives as comfortable as possible while nature takes its course.
Every single life matters, Mr Speaker, when it comes to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Balancing lives and livelihoods, every nation's challenge. Australia's had 26 deaths per million people, whereas the United States, United Kingdom and Sweden have all had far higher death rates. But they also suffered bigger hits to their economy in the June quarter. What's unique about this recession is that it's largely caused by deliberate economic self-harm, designed to avoid an even bigger health calamity. In that respect, it's been unavoidable, but the government's challenge now is plotting a recovery. And whether it's bringing forward income tax cuts or fast-tracking infrastructure, there'll be billions more to be spent in the October budget and beyond. Andrew Probyn, ABC News, Canberra.
Despite the government's support, there was a record plunge in household spending as Australians were unable or unwilling to open their wallets, and hopes of a quick recovery have been dashed by the second COVID outbreak in Victoria. Here's finance correspondent Philip Lasker.
This was Matthew Purton before the recession, and this is him now, no longer flying a Boeing 777 across the Pacific, his career destroyed when Virgin collapsed due to the lockdown.
At my age, it's going to be a struggle to get back into work.
An 80% fall in income means his family will also struggle, though he recognises others have it worse.
A lot of things that I guess we don't really think about now, or we do now, but we never used to think about, are going to be luxury items that we just can't afford.
Household spending collapsed during the quarter like never before as businesses closed and industries were shut down. Business investment went south despite a massive boost of JobKeeper money. Propping up the economy was government spending and trade.
So you can see very clearly the lockdowns and the impact that they had on activity.
Savings increased massively because people were scared or couldn't spend on eating out, travelling or entertainment. In Western Sydney, restaurant manager and chef Tushar Patel says events in Victoria are still keeping his business on its knees.
So that's why people are afraid. They are not coming out.
The government admits Victoria's lockdown may have prolonged the national recession, so it's planned to wind back support at the end of this month increases the economic risk.
As we look further ahead at the recovery, there's a great deal of uncertainty. The trajectory of the virus, the scaling back of income support, just the uncertainty from a confidence perspective.
That's not good news for Tushar Patel.
If it's going to be the same situation, it would be very hard for us to, stay in the market.
Tushar will probably be cooking alone for a while yet. Philip Lasker, ABC News.